At number 2, I have For the Emperor. So this is almost a micro card game in a very small box, very few components, and it's a tug of war style game as you're competing for these different kind of zones, I suppose, by playing cards. Now, each player has an identical deck of cards, but at any time I think you only have 3 in your hand to play with, so you are having to act somewhat tactically to the cards available to you. Now, the information on these cards comes in 2 different ways, really. So you've got the strength value, which is going to be your influence of these particular zones, but each card also has a unique power. And as you'd expect, normally the higher strength cards come with weaker powers, and maybe the lower valued or strength cards will come with a bit more of a manipulation skill and how to change things around into your favour when it comes to the current board state. So gameplay wise, or the actual mechanisms wise, you're just simply playing cards and moving on to the next thing. But there are several things to consider here. Not only exploiting the abilities of these cards, but also each of these different zones you're fighting over has a capacity on how many cards can be played there. And that concerns both of the players. And if I haven't mentioned so far, this is a 2-player head-to-head game. Because some zones might say you can play 4 cards here, but that could be 4 of my cards and none of yours. It could be 2 each, it could be 3 of mine and 1 of yours, and so on. But the capacity of each of these zones is actually determined as the game goes on. So for example, the first zone to hit 4 cards will become the 4-card zone, and then it'll be like the 3 cards, and then there's like a couple of 2 cards and a few 1 cards as well. So you don't actually know what the most competitive regions are until maybe later in the game, but there are certain cards that can determine that earlier. And some of these abilities on these cards is really fascinating. It might say, well, add the capacity volume of this particular zone to your strength, or maybe it will let you pick cards back up that you've already played and swap it with another one, and so on. So again, lots of little tricks and a little guile you need to use here, a bit of skullduggery, and it's just very refined, and it just seems to me like it's almost been like perfectly tweaked with what all these abilities can do. With a lot of these games, one thing that normally concerns me is if there's too much of an information dump on those cards, where you just kind of, it feels like a bit of a chore using the powers on them. These ones are all very simple to resolve and easy to understand and grok and how to use them and exploit them. And just, they're all just one-liners, so you can very quickly see what this card does. And before you know it, even within a couple of games, you will have a good understanding of what your opponent can do and what cards they have or haven't used, because you only get like 10 cards each, which is next to nothing. So this one, very impressive. I wasn't sure what to expect with it. I think if you like games like Hanamakoji, you're going to really like this one. And even if you like games like Air, Land and Sea, a little bit of Love Letter, this one just it just kind of draws little things from all these different games and puts it in this lovely little package. And I have to say, I was thoroughly impressed, and I can see this one climbing. I'm not sure if the strategy is super deep, but for a 10 to 15 minute game with some good little tricks, the way that the cards are bled into your hand and how to use them to the best of their ability, you can't always go into this game with the same plan because different cards are going to be available to you. I think all of that works in its favour, and it's just beautifully executed. And this is definitely going to be a contender for surprise of the year for me. And I think this one's going to be quality enough of a design that it's going to get a slow momentum and people are going to really start appreciating it. So I know there's a lot of fans out there of these little tug-of-war 2-player games. This one is a super strong example of that. And hopefully, I've kind of spread the word a bit and can maybe put it on your radar to give it a try yourself. It's small, it's affordable, and the gameplay is high quality. So that is For the Emperor, a well-deserved number 2.